Welcome to Follow to Lead, where we discover how to listen for and follow God's call so that we might lead others to God. Our shared stories of inspiration from religious leaders and those active in the educational ministry of the church can help you know better how God is calling you and the role passionate Catholic education plays in spreading His message of faith, hope, and love. Now please welcome the hosts of Follow to Lead, Father Randy Sly and Kyle Pietrantonio.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Christ the teacher, teach us to listen. Teach us to do the deep listening to the sounds of our soul, waiting to hear your voice calling us to cast out deeper, to become fishers of men and women, shepherds of souls, to follow your will in order to lead others to the truth, beauty, and goodness only you can offer. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Welcome to Follow to Lead, a journey twice a month into the world of Catholic education and our faith, exploring what it means to follow God in order to lead others to Him. I'm Father Randy Sly, your host, and today we'll be talking with Theresa Payton, CEO of Fortalice Solutions. And Theresa is a trailblazer in technology and cybersecurity, making history as the first female White House Chief Information Officer under President George W. Bush, and known as one of the nation's top advisors in cybercrime. And she works with Fortune 500 board CEOs and technology executives to safeguard critical assets and navigate the complex digital challenges of today. And now as CEO of Fortalice Solutions, Theresa leads the fight against cybercrime, combining her experience as a technologist and entrepreneur. She's also a co-inventor of a U.S. patent in security design and is a recognized thought leader in artificial intelligence. Boy, do we need another discussion on that, Theresa, when it comes to Catholic education. Anyway, Theresa is dedicated to ending child and elder endangerment caused by online predators and criminal syndicates. She also brings both technical credibility and moral authority to this fight on these forces, and educating the public on the dangers we face online is one of her passions. Theresa, welcome to the program. We're so glad you're with us.
Oh, I've been really looking forward to this conversation, and anytime I can start a media hit with a prayer is a great media hit. So thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, well, we're so glad you could be with us. And we always like to begin our program by giving people an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves. So could you tell us about your upbringing and background?
Sure, absolutely. So Theresa Payton, great to meet everybody. And my dad was in the Marine Corps, and so I went to 9 schools between kindergarten and 12th grade, moving all around the United States, including Hawaii. And but what was really great was because my mom and dad were both products of career service military families. They made the decision early on that my sister and we would have a Catholic school education everywhere we lived, unless a Catholic school wasn't close by, and that only happened twice. And so it was really fortunate that my parents made that investment in me. Fast forward, I went to Immaculata University, which is just outside Philadelphia, run by the IHM sisters, for my undergraduate degree, and then had the opportunity to get my graduate degree at University of Virginia and a graduate studies certificate from the Graduate Banking School of the South at LSU. So 3 very different universities to attend, but really wonderful places of learning. I had the opportunity to work in financial services for 16 years, and then worked for President George W. Bush for almost 2.5 years, 2006 to 2008, and then founded my company, Fortalice Solutions, to protect nations, businesses, and people. And just delighted to be here with you today to talk about some things that are really troubling me because I see so many wonderful Catholics, Christians, and people of all faith being targeted by really terrible people. And so I'm glad we have this opportunity to talk today about how to keep everybody safe.
You know, I was intrigued with looking at your bio and your background at Immaculata and all of that. How in the world did you get into cybersecurity from that background? That's fascinating.
It is. And, I like to say that, each of the I had some different plans, and my what I wrote down on paper and what I'm doing now are different. And I refer to those as divine redirects. And so, God, we make plans, and God has other plans for us, so to speak. And so I
Right.
would say this is a career that found me. If you had asked my coming out of graduating out of college student person entering the workforce, I would have told you I'm going to do these huge international finance trade deals. I'm going to go to law school one day, probably run for the US Senate. That's what I wrote
Uh-huh.
down and what I had planned to do. And I haven't really done any of that. And that is a-okay. I realized that I really loved taking the human user story and enabling it through technology. And then when I was at the White House, the country really invested a lot in me. They brought me up to speed on a lot of things in national security that even the banks don't necessarily see. And I realized, I came home one of the weekends. I commuted every week for almost 2.5 years, and I told my husband, I do feel that God is calling me, pushing me out of my comfort zone. And I believe He wants me to focus on protecting people for the rest of my working career, whatever that is. And I said, I really do feel like he is pushing me, poking me, shaking me. I don't know what it means, but I do feel that I'm being exposed to all of this for a reason.
Well, it's interesting because we this is not a new problem. Online scamming has been around. I am basically the recipient of multi-million dollar promises from all over the world, from princes and all kinds of people that I never followed through on, obviously. But that started out, and here we are. As the internet grows more, I guess, effective, more technology, the technology is expanding. We have artificial intelligence. And so phishing, deep fake websites, impersonation, all of these things are continuing, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop. Uh, this may be an overgeneralized question. Where are we in facing the challenges on online scams and attacks right now?
We're overwhelmed. That's really what's happening. And so the FBI Internet Crime Report for 2023 is out, and they recorded over $3.4 billion in just elder fraud loss.
Wow.
So those are the people who admitted it, because a lot of times I talk to victims who are afraid or ashamed to report it. And what a shame, because you're a victim of a crime. You've done nothing wrong. You're a good person. You thought you were helping somebody, and that's how you got defrauded. But just overall, imposter scam losses. So basically, somebody pretending to be your bank, to be your doctor, to be your priest,
Right.
whoever impersonating somebody else, those scam losses for all age groups, as reported to the Federal Trade Commission. So that means these have to be reported crimes, 2.95 billion, that's with a B, dollars last year. Again, a significant amount of those target older adults. And I believe it's not because they think, hey, you're easy pickings. What I believe is they know that typically older adults want to give back. They want to leave things better than they found it. They feel a sense of responsibility for working moms like myself, for their kids, for their grandkids. They feel that sense of responsibility, and they want to do good in the world. And because of that, sadly, elder fraud abuse, elders are a target because they know they're playing to our best emotions. They're playing to the person that God has wired us to be, and trying to take advantage of that.
So this is a little, I hear a lot of cybersecurity talk about software and firewalls and all of that, which are very important, obviously. But you seem to be focusing more on the person. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, because cyber criminals and fraudsters know that most people keep their browsers up to date, keep their phones up to date. Maybe they have antivirus and anti-malware software installed. So instead, they're playing to our human user story. And it can be as simple as, my husband is the president of our Legion of Mary. We belong to St. Matthew's Catholic Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he gets text messages constantly pretending to be Father John or Father Bulky and saying things like, I would like to thank the Women's Guild by giving them Apple gift cards. And of course, all of the priests have told all of the volunteers in at St. Matthew's, we are never going to text you and ask you to give out gift cards, to buy gift cards. We're never going to do that. That's just not how we operate, which is the number one like best practice I can mention to everybody here is because we used to bring in adult learning specialists at the bank to help us develop systems that were easy to use. And I used to tap into these adult learning specialists when I was working on briefings, even for the White House. And they would say, one of the most important things you can do is establish what you will never do. And so our priests have told everybody and our deacons have told everybody, I'm never going to text you or call you and ask you to do something that involves money. I'll look at you in the eye in person and do it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to call you and text you and do it or email you and do that. So that it can be as simple as somebody pretending to be your parish priest, but I'm also seeing things where people are pretending using deep fake audio, deep fake video, imposter accounts on social media. They're pretending to be Father Mike Schmitz. They're pretending to be Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg, Chris Pratt. I mean, you name somebody who is reaching out to the faithful on a regular basis. Shoot, you may have people pretending to be you.
Yeah.
And they're very convincing. I know it because I don't know why, but these imposter accounts tend to find me. And they clearly don't look at what I do for a living. They're just targeting me like they're targeting the rest of the faithful, pretending to be somebody that they're not. I just happen to know that they're not who they say they are. So sometimes I do engage them and say, I can tell this isn't a real account. And I like to hear what their story is so that I can learn all about it and warn other people.
Now that's interesting but you would not advise the normal person to engage these people, would you?
No, I would not, for a couple of reasons. One is you don't want them to basically log your phone number as an active phone number because they're most likely part of a larger scam ring. So you don't want to have your phone number be sort of in their database as like a live number, an active number, and number that engages with them. Same thing with your email. And so even myself, I won't engage with them on my actual real phone number. I have burner numbers. I have burner accounts. If they engage with me on social media, I'll engage a little bit with them on DM before I actually report the account. And that's another big thing people don't realize. It really does make a difference if you report the account on the social media platform as an imposter account. It will eventually get reviewed. And if enough of the faithful post an account as an imposter account, it will get taken down. Sure, it's a little bit of a whack-a-mole, but you know what? Anything we can do to slow them down from achieving another victim on the win scoreboard for them is good in my book.
One of the things that was interesting recently that I saw a picture of an somebody that did this scamming. Because my little brain, I was picturing a guy sitting there with a phone, dialing up a number one after the other. But this was a wall with
Yeah.
maybe 100 iPhones all networked together, and so they were calling I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of numbers. Is that, I mean, is it that huge that they're really going after it that aggressively?
Yes, and in some cases, some people are actually being trafficked themselves into a scam. So some people think, oh, I'm flying to another country. This is typically in Asia. I'm flying to another country and I'm going to be doing a call center job or a tech job, and it's more than I would make here. And as soon as they show up, they take their passport and they make them make their numbers and they threaten them and they threaten their families. So sometimes the person doing these horrible, terrible things to other people, they're actually a trafficking victim themselves. But yes, you're right. There's oftentimes they're called fraud and scam farms. And they set up all of these different devices, and they basically have computer programs and algorithms running constantly, logging into different platforms, pretending to be in different countries. accessing a device that maybe they have spyware installed on, and so they're logging into that device in another country and then pretending to be local. And they're doing a lot of different scams. It's text messages, it's emails, it's phone calls, and then it's social media platforms. And one of the things they try to do is grab you off of the social media platform. It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, TikTok, X, and then they try to quickly move you over to encrypted apps such as, WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Telegram, because they want to be able to set up their infrastructure very quickly, keep it encrypted, steal your money, and then disappear without a trace, and making it very hard for law enforcement to actually track them down.
It's amazing how that happens so quickly. And what should someone do if they fall victim to a scam?
First of all, if you are a victim of a scam, or somebody that you love or care about is a victim of a scam, my heart breaks for you and I am so sorry for you. And first of all, do not feel shame. You're a good person. And a bad person played to your human nature, which was to be good and to help somebody else. So they took advantage of you. That doesn't make you dumb. It doesn't make you, gullible or not a good person. So you need to report it. File a local police report. You can also go to the website at FBI. It's called the letter I, C, the number 3.gov, and file a report. I have talked to several agents at the FBI. They do track the IC3.gov. They may not give you a personal phone call because they don't have enough staff, but they do track these issues. Report the accounts to the social media platforms. And then the other thing I would mention is, if you don't already have like identity theft monitoring services through your bank or credit union or other places, there is a wonderful nonprofit that we have connected victims to. They do a great job. Their work they will do for you for free, and that is irtc.org. They are a nonprofit organization, and they will give you all the tools that you need to try and get your identity back. But first of all, my thoughts and prayers are with you as a victim. You're going to be okay, but you need to report it, because in reporting it, you will help other people.
I understand there's a new initiative that you're a part of to try to educate people in this area of online fraud, especially elder fraud and religious-based fraud. Can you tell us a little bit about this initiative?
Sure. So we're reaching out to different social media fan groups and giving them different types of graphics so that they can warn their fans. And it can be anything from, warning people that like Alex on Hallow, or Chris Pratt, or Father Mike Schmitz, Jonathan Rumi, people from The Chosen, making sure that people don't think that they're being individually contacted or contacted by the teams around these very notable people, including the Pope. So people were standing up fake Pope accounts. They were standing up fake accounts for the Pope's brothers, and and people think that they're interacting with the Pope's family, and they're not. So we are working with different fan groups to make sure that they've got the materials and resources that they need. And then also on my company's page, we will continue to post different types of resources. So if people want to follow us on their favorite social media platforms, we'll constantly be giving tips, not just about this, but on all the different things that you can do, to minimize your digital footprint, to make sure that your identity is safe, not just in sort of these faith-based scams that are happening.
And how can you participate in that?
Sure. So Fortalice Solutions is on Instagram. It's on Facebook. We are on X. We are on LinkedIn, and not as active on TikTok, but we are on TikTok. And so you can find us on all those different social media platforms, or you can also follow me, Theresa Payton. And a lot of times, if people do tag me and ask a question, when I have time, I will actually answer your question. I certainly can't help, I do get a lot of asks for help, and I wish I could help everybody,
Right.
which is why I've started working with a lot of these nonprofits. So if you didn't hear the advice or something bad happens to a family member, it's okay, reach out to me. I may not be able to personally help you, but I do know a nonprofit that probably can. So I can at least get people directed to the right resources.
So, Teresa, as we look at our audience of educators, administrators, and schools, are there any specific areas within the schools that we need to really look at more carefully?
Yes, absolutely. So we talked a lot about what the targeting of elders, but our young people are being targeted too. And what I would say is we really need to spend some time having faith-based discussions about digital literacy and what that means. And, having sort of these safe zone discussions with children everywhere from, K through 12 into university. And I would like to give you an example of this. So I was sitting at the kitchen table with a really good friend of mine, and her teen children were around. And I talked to them about how, with my own kids, I had had the safe zone discussion, and I would change the tone of the discussion and what we talked about as my kids got older. I have three kids. And how, but basically, my general message is, and I told my kids this from an early age, I said, there is nothing in this world that you can do that would make me ever stop loving you. And there's nothing in this world that you will ever do that will ever make God stop loving you or make your guardian angel leave your side. So let's just get that straight right now.
Uh
You
huh.
will always be loved, no matter how big a mistake you do. I will never stop loving you. Now, as it relates to the digital world, you're going to see things. You may make mistakes. Your friends may make mistakes. They don't get better with time. So the best thing you can do is, the soonest you know about it, come to me, say, Mama, I need to invoke the safe zone. That's my phrase to make sure I do not overreact, because I am of Irish and Italian heritage. And so, God gave me red hair for a reason. So everybody knows what's coming, right? And so I'm sitting at the kitchen table with my good friend and her teenage kids, telling them this. And they said, did the kids ever use it? And we laughed about some of the times the kids invoke safe zone. I kind of had this moment. And then I was like, is that it? And it wasn't bad, but it was great that they got in this habit of coming to me. Do you know, Father, I'm literally 2 days away from that conversation at their kitchen table, and one of their children had been tricked into giving up photos they shouldn't have given up.
Oh boy.
And
Yeah.
then they started getting extorted and threatened. And do you know what that kid did? Marched right to his parents and he said, I'm going to invoke the safe zone. And then they called me and I said, this is what we're going to do. And you're going to be okay, kiddo. And we're going to get through this. And again, somebody took advantage of your wonderful, sweet human nature, and you're going to be okay. So we have to talk about this. And I want to make sure parents also realize National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Not only do they help find missing children and end child trafficking, but if this happens to your child, they have free resources for you. You will need counseling of some level.
Right.
They have free resources to make these pictures go away so your child and your family isn't re-victimized. And they can point you to the right direction of like how to talk to your local law enforcement about it. What was great in this scenario is my friends called local law enforcement. She got a female cop and she said, I want you to come over and scare my kid because I don't want this to ever happen again. And so, yeah, I mean, and law enforcement wants to be in this relationship with us. They want to help us raise great kids who don't fall prey to the things that can happen to them in the digital realm. So we have to talk about this more because we have to protect our children from schemes like that. Some of the algorithms on social media who are serving them up things we don't want served up in our homes, but now it's been invited into our homes and we don't get to feel, it used to be you could turn off the TV or things like that weren't on until 10 p.m. Now it's like in our kids' pockets. And so we have to have these conversations, and a great place to have it, I believe, is in the Catholic schools.
I couldn't agree more. As you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that there are so many portions of our culture right now that not only see this as something that is happening, but encouraging these kinds of illicit behaviors on the part of children. And so it makes it even harder because you don't know where you can go to find help. So to know that you can go to these safe places is really, really important. And I really love the idea of a safe zone for families, and that could really go to a school too.
It really could. Yeah, the guidance counselors, the teachers. I mean, I think the more that we can do to acknowledge, no matter what age we're all in, we're all going to make mistakes. And
Right,
some of the mistakes are going to be online, and some of them are going to be offline. The online ones are really hard because if there's a bad person that grabbed that online mistake that we made, they'll never let us forget it.
right.
And we need help. We cannot, through prayer, of course, but a lot of times for young people, it feels like they can never get away from it. You make a mistake in the physical world, you can kind of avoid people until things blow over a little bit, or you can go say I'm sorry and kind of move on. But in the digital realm, it can feel like things are viral. It can feel like things are closing in on you. And so this is where we have to know who are all these resources. But if we can have these safe zone conversations at school where kids feel like, hey, I can go to somebody. Maybe I can't tell my parents yet because I don't know how to verbalize what's going on here. But maybe I can go to somebody at school and say, hey, can you get my head wrapped around this? Because I'm going to have to talk to my parents about whatever it is. But again, if any young people are listening to this, again, I'm just going to tell you, there is nothing you can do that would make your parents not love you, or God not love you, or your guardian angel leave you. So just understand everything, everything can be fixed, but you have to go to an adult. You've got to get help to fix it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there have been too many stories where the solution has been a little bit more violent and a little bit more drastic in terms of a child ending their life and things like that because they see no way out. One of the things I'm wondering about with with educators, with teachers in the classroom, we talk a lot about safe environment, and there are certain indicators that we look at in terms of predatory behaviors, things that are happening with a child. What are some indicators that you could help us with concerning being a victim online of something? Are there behaviors that a teacher could look for?
Absolutely. I mean, basically drastic swings in personality. So if you see somebody seems to be more socially withdrawn than they typically are, that can tell you maybe something's going on online. If they seem to be overly sleepy, there could be health issues, but it could also be that maybe they're getting access to devices after the rest of the family is sleeping. And so they're staying online past a curfew, past sort of, whatever the digital bedtime is, so to speak. And that's typically because there's some kind of an abuse or some type of a mental, uh, overpowering of that particular person by another entity online. So those can be really, also, if you're like a device classroom where it's like I take the device and you get it before you change classes, if you've got that one student who more so than normal seems to be very anxious to get that device and get on that device, just stop them and have a conversation. So if they're a junior, is like, are you anxious because you're trying to see about like college applications and acceptance? Like, try to engage them in a conversation and see if maybe you can get a couple indicators of what's going on there.
What about prevention? Are there things that schools and parishes can do? I mean, can you use like notices in the bulletin? Are there things that are available for churches and schools in that way?
Absolutely. So a couple of things. The FBI puts out public service announcements all the time. Those are free. You can also reach out to your FBI field office and ask them if they're up for doing a briefing. It can be in video, it can be in person, for your church, for your school. The other thing to think about is netsmarts.org is a nonprofit organization, and they actually have age appropriate material for all ages to talk about the fun things, the great things, and then, sort of protecting your footprint, protecting yourself online. And then again, just having the conversations and opening up that safe zone. So telling people about the great things you can do online, showing people what the red flags are, and then making sure people know there's free confidential resources to get help if you run into an issue. And at some point, all of us, if it's not us personally, somebody we care about is going to have an issue. So it's good to know these resources are there and they are confidential.
This is really helpful information. And one of the things that again I really love is your emphasis. You're not you're not the villain. You're not the one that did anything. You are a victim and you just need to cry out for help.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the last areas of crime where we almost seem to blame the victim. And I can't tell you how many times I get a phone call and somebody says, I can't believe I did this. I clicked on a link. I invited this. I should have seen. And I listen to a victim and finally I'll just say, stop, please. Can we just have a moment and acknowledge that you're a victim of a crime and that you did nothing wrong here? Somebody took advantage of you. Can we just, and a lot of times they're like, oh, no, I did something wrong. I'm like, no, you're a good person. A bad person took advantage of you. That doesn't make you dumb. That makes them bad. And so we need to get you help and we need to get you resources. And there's sometimes they'll even apologize. I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm sorry for calling you. I'm like, you're a victim of a crime. You need resources, you need assistance, you need help. And I want people to know there is nothing wrong with taking advantage of the free counseling services. You're going to go through different stages of grief. You're going to go through times where you feel very vulnerable, like, wait a minute, if this happened to me once, that means it could happen to me again.
Hmm.
And being afraid. And all of those emotions are very normal emotions for somebody who's been a victim of a crime. And you need to just give yourself grace and space so that you can heal and get the help that you need. And just know that these nonprofit organizations want to help you.
One of the things that I've had to do for myself is just kind of use the idea of stop and count to five when I get a text. Because I just got one not too long ago that said that my account had been charged for an antivirus software for $500. And if this was done in error, please, you know, contact us. And it represented itself as this antivirus software company. And it would be so easy to just say, oh my goodness, I don't want that on my bill, and push the button.
Mm-hmm.
It happens so quickly. And so, just that stop, count to five, look at what's going on. And then you're going to find out that's definitely not from that company.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So I wrote a book, it's out in second edition called Manipulated, which talks about all the algorithms and the technology that allows each of us to be manipulated. And sometimes manipulated is, I really would like the it color this year in fashion is light blue, and I'd really like some light blue, like high heels. And so, part of manipulation is I'm thinking about them. I look up a couple things. The next thing you know, everything I see, Father, is like light
Yeah.
blue heels on sale that look really pretty. And like, I don't need to be spending time on that. I got important work to do. So, or it can be being manipulated into a fraud scheme. And so one of the things I learned in doing my research for Manipulated was there's actual people with data science behind how you and I respond to things. So that text message that you got that you're like, oh, if I hadn't had that rule for myself where I take 5 minutes and think, you might have said, oh, I don't want this to hit my bill. There's actually a data science behind all of that. And I found a gentleman, I've got a whole chapter dedicated to him called I call him Hacker X, because I didn't know his identity when I interviewed him. And he came to me through a handler when he heard that I was writing my book. And what was interesting was he had it down to 15-minute increments. He knew every age demographic in the United States, when they logged online, where they logged online, what they were coming for. So it's like checking bank balances, shopping, news, sensational things, prayer, meditation, whatever it was. And he knew exactly where they would be, what time of day, so that he could pull them in to his version of manipulation schemes, which for him, it was about voting and clickbait and making money off of the clickbait and election messages. But manipulation can take all forms, but there is a data science behind it. So again, the reason why it, any of us could be a victim is literally data science is being used to predict what we're going to do before we even know it ourselves instinctively that we're going to do it.
Having lived in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, for about 17 years, I had a number of friends that worked both for the government, also for the private sector. And one of them worked for a company that just basically had, they just accumulated data of people across the United States. And it is absolutely mind-boggling how much information that is accumulated about each and every one of us. And it's not, and it's for every, I mean, they sell their data to mailing lists, to this and to that. They know how much money I make, where I live, how long I live there, where I lived before, how much I bought my house for, everything. And just imagine that, and then being, that data being available to somebody who wants to do me harm.
I know that's the thing is you have all these third-party marketing databases that are supposed to be about giving you and I coupons and value-added services and giving us better services and care, but anybody can buy those,
Yeah.
including bad people can get access to them. This is why I like to have fun. So I often think about, there's sort of this data lake collection on each one of us by third-party marketing, and they don't really tell us they're doing it. So I actually like to have fun with it. So for example, I like to use different, because it's none of their business where I graduated from high school. So I like to make up places where I went to high school when I fill out little forms for coupons and things like that. And every once in a while I get to see the little data lake on me and I chuckle because I'm like, oh, that's very interesting because I purposely put that on the form. I've got a certain phone number I use. I'm sorry, whoever's phone number it is. It's not my phone number, but I don't want, and I've got burner numbers. So Google Voice. So this is something for people to think about as well. Google Voice, you can actually set up a phone number and forward it to your cell phone, but not have it be your cell phone number. And that can be a great way, especially on social media and other places, to segment things. So you can think to yourself, well, I'm only going to give my cell phone number out to a couple different groups, and then I'm
Right.
going to get a different number out to other groups. And so that way you can start to segment, so now if somebody's going to your Google Voice number saying, hey, this is your bank, you're thinking to yourself, I don't think so because I didn't give my bank this number. So there could be some different things and strategies you can do as well as just kind of having fun. Same thing with your password reset questions. Don't actually put in there what's publicly available on social media or in your legal records. Obviously, if you're filling out a government form, you have to put the truth and accurate information. But if it's like your Meta Facebook account and it says, what was the name of what's your mother's maiden name? You don't have to put your mother's maiden name in there. Like if there's like a movie star that reminds you of your mother, put that movie star in there. Don't put your mother's maiden name in there. Now you got to remember who you chose, but think about different things that a fraudster couldn't then try to get into your actual accounts and reset your passwords. And so it's kind of fun, I think, to sort of throw things off a little bit by putting, different things out there. Because they're doing data collection on you, and you should have a say as to sort of what your data looks like.
One of the things you just talked about is passwords. What are some good guidelines I know don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 anymore, obviously, but do you have any guidelines on strong passwords that would be helpful?
Sure. Well, one of the things that the algorithm, so you can look at sort of the algorithms of how hard it is to crack a password. Obviously, if you put in password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I see you and I understand why people out there listening do that, but please stop. Also, please stop doing things like summer 2025 exclamation point. That's also pretty obvious. But something that's not as easy for cyber criminals to guess or for algorithms to create iterations of is think about four random words. So, for example, maybe there's a certain room that you always do your online banking in, and I'm going to make this up, but maybe the room that you sit in is your kitchen where you do your online banking. And so you may say, coffee maker, tea, sink, and something else. And those are all things very easy to remember, but a criminal's not going to easily guess those, and an algorithm is not going to put those four random words together. Now, the thing you do have to be thinking about and checking once in a while is there are a couple databases. One's called Leak Peek, and another one's called Have I Been Pawned, where they will from time to time release email and account information where the passwords may have been stolen. I never type my passwords into those tools. They're free tools, they're legit, but I typically will type in my email address, my bank account, like the username for my bank account, just to see if it's been named in any data breaches. And if so, it's time to get a new password and get four new random words that you're going to use. So maybe it's your dog, your cat, your bath mat, or whatever it is, and use that as well as multi-factor authentication. The more you can do that, the better off you're going to be.
Boy, these are very helpful, very practical things that we need to know and keep in, forefront of our mind. It's so easy just to keep a password, use it over and over again, and never change it. Thankfully, I have a situation through my bank where I'm notified if a password is revealed from,
Good.
any of my accounts, which is really helpful. So I can go in and begin to work on that. So, well, Teresa, just as we wrap up, just wonder if you could help me with a few things. Number one, what's the best piece of advice to give to parents regarding online security and scams for their kids?
Just have that talk at the dinner table. Talk about things you're hearing and seeing. Have the kids show you. Be where your kids are. So if they're on Instagram, guess what, mom and dad? You need to be there too. And then have that safe zone conversation with them.
Okay, what about teachers? What would you say to teachers?
Teachers, I think a great way to engage with today's students and youth is ask them to bring you memes. You're going to know what's on their mind. You're going to kind of stay culturally with them, and that will help open up that bridge to the safe zone in the classroom. And so make sure people know if they run into a situation and they need a trusted shoulder to talk to about an issue, that you would be there for them.
Okay, thank you so much. And then we've got these websites. IC3.gov is a good website for what?
That is a great website for reporting if you or a loved one is a victim of an online fraud, scam, impersonator accounts. And FBI.gov will have public service announcements of the recent scams that are happening online.
And then IRTC.org.
Yes, this is a nonprofit organization. If you don't have any identity theft issues, it's still a great place to check out with a lot of advice and tools. But if you do find that you are a victim of identity theft, they can help you get everything locked down and give you checklists and worksheets and things to make sure that the fraudsters can't continue to torment you.
And NetSmart.org.
Yeah, NetSmarts. So they are a great resource for parents, teachers, counselors, and kids. They have age-appropriate materials and training about how to be a good digital citizen and how to stay safe.
Fantastic. Now, are there resources at Fortalice that people can also find?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the best thing to do is check our social media accounts. We try to have fun, stay educational. So we stay on top of the headlines, data breaches, scams, frauds, different types of tips if we come across tools that we like. So any of the websites, so you can follow me, Theresa Payton. I'm Tracker Payton on X, Theresa Payton on Facebook. You can follow our corporate accounts on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, and that's Fortalice or Fortalice LLC or Fortalice Solutions.
Fantastic. And that's Fortalice, Fortalice, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Theresa Payton, thank you. This has really been fantastic. I'm going to go out and change all my passwords once this program is done because all of a sudden it's got my thinking moving in a few areas here. Thank you again, and I appreciate all that you're doing to really help us keep safe online. So, Theresa, thank you again for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and thank you for what you're doing. And to you and everybody else listening in, be safe out there.
And for information concerning the Duke and Altum Schools Collaborative, you may visit our website at diaschools.org. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow our podcast, and be sure to leave a comment to encourage us toward future programs. May Almighty God bless you.
We'd like to thank you for joining us on this episode of Follow to Lead, a production of the Duke and Altum Schools Collaborative. To learn more about finding your own path in your journey of faith, or for more information on what we discussed in today's episode, you are invited to follow us on social media and visit us on the web at diaschools.org. To provide a one-time donation or monthly pledge, please visit our website. Your gift will aid us in providing up-to-date information, additional resources, and other support on how to take Catholic education to a higher level. We look forward to helping you follow God's call to lead others to God right here on Follow to Lead.